Good. I've been visiting Moscow since 1991, regularly, about annually, sometimes a little bit more. And those were the last days of the Soviet Union, and we were rivals of two world empires, and we were opposites, and that was really curious, the kind of mutual fear of each other that existed in both countries. And what I've observed over the almost 20 years since those very heady and strange and surreal days is sort of a fusing of the two cultures. It was during that time I had an interview with the then Minister of Culture, Mikhail Shvitkoy, and he made a statement that I've never forgotten. He said that every culture produces the art that reflects its core values. And I thought, that's really quite extraordinary, and it explains some way why we have Broadway and why Broadway prevails as an American, because Broadway is a commercial medium that reflects our essentially commercial values. And what we've watched, what I've seen in Moscow from not an authoritative, a very snapshot view, is that the old institutional government-funded sort of Soviet model theaters are fraying at the edges. They have not been destroyed, but they're hanging on. The edges are more frayed of theaters like the Sovremennik and the Taganka. And you have these studio systems, because of the forces of economics, you have these more experimental structures forming up in the studios, and it so resembles Los Angeles theater in a way that, for exactly the same reasons, because of when the central funding got gutted, you have these economic forces determining the style of theater that gets produced. And the only last thing I can think of saying is that it's interesting. I think of the two countries, it's a sort of the old Soviet Union and then the United States, like Romeo and Juliet. It's like the Capulets and the Montagues. And Shakespeare's line is that we love what we hate, and that we think we're so opposite because we're actually so close. And that the fear of each other is really the fear of confronting ourselves. And that's why I think Americans' knowledge of Russian theater is so important, as is Russian knowledge of American theater. We're seeing ourselves refracted through the shattered glass of the other.